all about Rome's pantheons. Rome's Pantheon story. The pounding rain fell like a curtain over ancient Rome, soaking the marble streets and washing away the faint light of dusk. Cassia darted through the shadows, her breath ragged, clutching the leather-bound codex she had stolen. The Pantheon loomed ahead, its massive dome outlined against the stormy sky like a sentinel. For years, whispers of the Pantheon's secret had been passed down by scholars, scribes, and thieves alike, but no one had dared uncover the truth. Tonight, Cassia intended to change that or die trying. She slipped into the great portico, where columns thicker than any tree rose toward the heavens. Her heart thundered as she pressed herself against the cold stone, her fingers fumbling to open the codex. Each page seemed alive, the ink shimmering faintly as though imbued with magic. The text spoke of a hidden chamber beneath the Pantheon, a place where the gods' power had been sealed away centuries ago. Cassia had heard rumors of an ancient order sworn to protect it. If they caught her, she wouldn't live to see dawn. A flash of lightning illuminated the great oculus, the circular opening at the dome's apex. Rain streamed through it, cascading onto the marble floor in a hypnotic dance. But Cassia had no time to marvel. From the far side of the portico came the unmistakable sound of boots on stone. She wasn't alone. Cassia's instincts screamed for her to run, but the codex's instructions were clear. The entrance to the chamber could only be accessed during a storm. She had minutes, perhaps seconds, before her opportunity vanished. Drawing a deep breath, she pressed her palm to the mosaic floor beneath the oculus and recited the incantation from the book. The ancient Latin words tasted foreign on her tongue, but the effect was immediate. The ground trembled, and a fissure split the marble, revealing a staircase spiraling into darkness. Before she could descend, a hand clamped onto her shoulder. She spun, dagger in hand, and found herself face to face with a man cloaked in black. His eyes burned with fury, and the emblem of the Order of the Veil glinted on his chest. "You have no idea what you're unleashing," he growled, shoving her back. Cassia stumbled but managed to slash at his arm, forcing him to release her. "Stay out of my way," she hissed, leaping into the abyss before he could recover. The darkness swallowed her whole. Cassia landed hard on a stone platform, the air knocked from her lungs. The chamber stretched before her, an endless expanse of shadow and flickering torchlight. Pillars adorned with ancient carvings lined the walls, their surfaces telling stories of gods and mortals locked in eternal conflict. At the center of the chamber stood an altar, its surface inscribed with symbols that seemed to writhe like living things. She approached cautiously, the codex trembling in her hands. This was the heart of the Pantheon's secret, the veil of divinity. According to the text, it was a barrier that kept the gods' essence contained, preventing their power from consuming the world. But the codex also hinted at something more, a way to harness that power. As she reached the altar, a voice echoed through the chamber. "Do you truly believe you're worthy of this knowledge?" Cassia whirled, her dagger at the ready, but there was no one there. The voice laughed, low and menacing. "The gods do not suffer fools lightly." The torches flared, their flames turning a ghostly blue. Shadows coalesced into a figure, a woman clad in flowing robes that shimmered like starlight. Her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and her presence filled the chamber with an oppressive weight. "You've come far, mortal, but your journey ends here." "Who are you?" Cassia demanded, though her voice trembled. "I am the guardian of the veil," the figure intoned. "And you're not the first to seek its power. None have succeeded. All have perished." Cassia tightened her grip on her dagger. "I'm not here to claim the power. I want to destroy it." The guardian's laughter echoed like thunder. "Destroy it? Foolish child. You cannot comprehend what you're meddling with." Before Cassia could respond, the chamber trembled violently. The fissure above widened, and water began to pour in, threatening to flood the space. The guardian's expression darkened. "You've upset the balance. If the veil is breached, the gods will awaken, and their wrath will be unending." Cassia's mind raced. She had to act quickly, but the codex's instructions were incomplete. The missing pages had been lost centuries ago. She had gambled on instinct and desperation, and now it seemed the price would be the world itself. The floodwaters rose rapidly, forcing Kasia to climb onto the altar to avoid being swept away. The guardian watched impassively, her form shimmering as though caught between this world and another. "You cannot undo what you have started," she said, her voice tinged with sorrow. "The gods stir, and their fury will consume all." Kasia's gaze darted to the symbols on the altar. If she couldn't destroy the veil, perhaps she could reinforce it. The Codex had mentioned a ritual, one that required a mortal sacrifice. Her stomach turned at the thought, but she shoved the fear aside. She hadn't come this far to fail. Before she could begin, the sound of splashing water drew her attention. The man from the order had followed her, his face a mask of determination. "You don't understand what you're doing," he shouted over the roar of the water. "If you activate the veil, it will consume you." "Then help me," she shot back. "If we don't act, everyone dies." He hesitated, his gaze flickering between her and the guardian. Finally, he waded through the water to join her. "Tell me what to do." Kasia tore a page from the Codex and thrust it at him. "Recite this incantation. I'll do the rest." Together, they began the ritual. The air grew heavy with energy, and the symbols on the altar glowed brighter with each word. The guardian's form flickered, her expression unreadable. "You would sacrifice yourselves to save a world that does not deserve it." "It's not about deserving," Kasia said through gritted teeth. "It's about doing what's right." The chamber erupted in light as the ritual reached its climax. The water froze in place, suspended like glass, and the altar's glow became blinding. Kasia felt her strength ebbing, the veil's power demanding more than she had to give. She staggered, but the man caught her, his grip steady. "You can't stop now," he said. "Finish it." With a final, shuddering breath, Kasia uttered the last words of the incantation. The light exploded outward, and the world dissolved into white. When Kasia opened her eyes, she was lying on the cold marble floor of the Pantheon. The rain had stopped, and the fissure in the floor was gone, as though it had never been. The man lay beside her, unconscious but alive. The Codex was nowhere to be seen. The guardian's voice echoed faintly in her mind. "The veil is secure for now. But the gods are not so easily contained. Be wary, mortal. Your actions have set events into motion that cannot be undone." Kasia struggled to her feet, her body aching but her resolve unbroken. The Pantheon's secret had been preserved, but at what cost? As she stepped into the dawn's light, she couldn't shake the feeling that her journey was far from over. The gods had been awakened, and their eyes were now upon her.